everyone. My name is Luis Ferreiro, and I'm one of the hosts of the Dairy Nutrition Blackbelt Podcast. And today we have the privilege of receiving Dr. Jean Drackley from the University of Illinois. Hello, Dr. Drackley. First, thank you very much for joining us. Could you please give us a brief background about yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm professor of animal sciences at the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. I've been in that position for more than 34 years now, and originally from Minnesota, and went to school at South Dakota State and Iowa State University, and then have been here at the University of Illinois the rest of my career. Involved in research and teaching, and I also have a number of outreach functions that I do as well.
Obviously, we all know your work quite well. We know and all the great research related to how to best implement transition cow diets. And the topic that I would like to discuss with you today is about a recent abstract that you put together this previous ADSA meeting discussing about, energy levels in the diet of dry cows and how that can affect the postpartum period for those cows. Could you give us a perspective on that?
Yeah. Well, as many people probably know, we've been working on the idea of controlled energy rations for dry cows for many years. And one of the phenomenon that we wanted to investigate was whether these diets were less inflammatory than higher energy close-up diets. We had interest in inflammation for probably 25 years or so, and of course it's gotten a lot more attention recently with Barry Bradford and Lance Baumgard leading the way on those aspects. And so we wanted to use our model, comparing the controlled energy diet to a higher energy close-up, and see if there was more evidence for inflammation on one diet or the other. So we had two groups of cows, one that was fed a controlled energy diet and one that was fed a higher energy close-up diet. And we put the cows on those two diets during the dry period, and then put them on a common lactation ration after calving. And we didn't see much difference in terms of production variables or blood and liver variables, liver composition, and so on that we would have expected given our previous results. There's a relatively small number of cows on the study, so it perhaps is not surprising we didn't detect any significant differences. But when we looked at the liver mRNA using a microarray, there were several genes that were upregulated in the high energy cows that are associated with inflammation. So haptoglobin, several forms of serum amyloid A were the primary ones that would indicate inflammation in the liver. And so it appeared similar to a previous study that we had done that for some reason the higher energy diets, higher starch close-up diets are more inflammatory in the liver than the controlled energy program.
So is it safe to say that even though this specific study did not show any impact on production, intake, and some of the most common variables that we are used to seeing some of those studies, that this higher inflammation is something that we should be very careful about and can have huge implications for this cow throughout her lactation period?
Yes, I think so. There's certainly good evidence from Baumgard and Bradford's work and others, including Giuseppe Bertoni and Emilio Trevisi in Italy, that inflammation has negative effects on the cow. It draws resources away from production, interferes with normal functions of the liver and other tissues. So it may be another factor that links in the generally more favorable transitions that we see with cows on a controlled energy program relative to a higher energy, high starch, close-up diet. So I think it's another part of the puzzle and perhaps can be a pretty important piece of that puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that, the health of dairy cows is one of the key aspects for any nutritionist, and definitely this adds a lot of value to our literature. If you don't mind me asking, for the young nutritionists out there, learning how to formulate and best to implement some of those control energy diets on dairy farms, what are your recommendations on how to start and things to pay close attention to avoid any issues with some of those diets?
So I think the big issue, we use energy or controlled energy to talk about it, but I think that the most important aspect is the starch content of the diet. So we want to keep starch down to a level of probably 15 to 16% of the dry matter in the close-up ration. This is enough to help the rumen adaptation, but we think can help avoid some of these negative effects. So the net energy of the diet will be somewhere in the range of 1.4 to 1.5 probably. But again, that's driven by the starch content. And we're talking about typical Midwest or Northeastern U.S. diets here with a fair amount of corn silage, and then using wheat straw or other cereal straws to bring down the energy density and control the starch content.
Yeah, thank you. No, those are definitely great recommendations. And I highly agree with you. If you have enough energy there to just stimulate the rumen to continue to work and develop the microbial community, but keeping the cow healthy is definitely key. Right. And when it comes to those issues associated with the inflammation, do you think that this is related to any sort of acidosis, or you think that there is a completely different mechanism that is causing those issues?
Yeah, that's a very good question. We don't really have the answer for that yet. We've done one study where we monitored rumen pH as the cows approached and went through calving, and didn't find any real evidence of acidosis. So it would be a tempting hypothesis to say that you're having some acidosis or that you're causing some leaky gut issues that might be a reason for the inflammation. But we don't have any good evidence that the amount of starch that we're talking about is enough to cause acidosis in the cows.
Perfect.
So that's still kind of an unknown as to what the actual trigger is here.
No, absolutely, and I'm sure we will continue to learn about some of those facts as we continue with research, and all the different research groups continue to elaborate on such a nice work. And just to finalize, our discussion here today. So, in addition to the starch levels in the diet, and you suggested some of the replacement of some of the concentrate or maybe corn silage with wheat straw as an example here for the Midwest and the Northeast. Are there any other recommendations that you would have to help with the establishment of those diets?
Yes, we still want to make sure that we're supplying adequate metabolizable protein. So we typically agree with the recommendations of others that we should have a minimum of 12 to 1,300 grams of metabolizable protein for older cows, and 1,100 grams or so for first calf heifers. So the protein has to be there. The vitamins and minerals need to be there. So we're trying to feed a balanced ration, but just control the starch and control the energy.
Perfect.
Adiseo, a global leader in nutritional solutions and the provider of SmartAmine M. Visit milkpay.com to calculate your return on investment when you balance your feed with amino acids, and to learn how SmartAmine M is the product for dairy producers who want to optimize milk production, component levels, and the lifetime performance of their herds.
Well, so thank you so much again for joining us today. This morning we had Dr. Gene Drackley from the University of Illinois teaching us about how to best implement and what are the implications of utilizing control energy diets for transition cows, and how to actually reduce inflammation by implementing some of those diets. This was Luis Ferreira with the Dairy Nutrition Blackbelt Podcast, and hope to see you soon. Thank you very much.